Hello, everybody. This is Chris Bird, and some of you may remember me as Monkey Dude 1313. On this channel, I used to make Rubik's Cube tutorial videos, cube reviews, and other interesting content, but that was 15 years ago, and I have since went to college, left college, got a job, and now experiencing the wonderful adult life. I've decided that I'm going to start uploading some different content to this channel, and that content will mostly be focused on the Pokemon trading card game, which I have been into for now 26 years, since 1999 when Base Set 1 was released in the United States. My girlfriend and I have been trying to master set all of the English Pokemon trading card game, which includes over 31,000 unique cards. We've been collecting on and off ever since the beginning. For me personally, I started with base one. I had a fantastic seventh birthday party where some of my friends at the time gave me booster packs. I pulled a Chansey Hollow as my first hollow ever, and then nearing the end of that birthday party, I pulled the Charizard Hollow from base set one. And it's a little bit of a funny story. That was the card I wanted the most. It ignited my passion for Charizard and for Pokemon in general, and the girl who gave me the pack of cards started crying because she wanted the Charizard. So that was a good memory to have, and hopefully all is good with her. So in these videos, I'm going to start chronicling some of our master set progress, and I'll also explain what a master set is to us. There are 126 sets in the Pokemon English TCG. We have fully completed 44 of them, and we are within 5 or so cards from completing another 40. So once we get each of those little small chunks of cards, we will have over 80 master sets, which means that would be a completion rate of about 66%. However, for all the sets that we're not close to finishing, we still have quite a lot of the cards from. And so out of the 31,000 cards estimate that are available in the English Pokemon TCG, we have about 26,000 of them. And so I've been going to a lot of events recently, and we've been meeting a lot of new people who are new to the hobby, people who've been in it for a long time, and getting to talk to these people and chat with them. And we've heard the same thing a lot of times, which is, we'd love to see your collection. So I decided that we'd start filming our videos, filming our binders, and giving you guys a little bit of sneak peek into what we've been collecting. Throughout the videos, not specifically this one, but ones going into the future, I can give a little bit more insight onto how we've collected and why we've collected. But I will say is that a grand majority of the cards that you're going to see in this series were specifically opened by my girlfriend and I. So, enjoy! Alright, so this is master set number 1. And we're not just going from oldest to newest or newest to oldest. The thought is that we are going to choose unique and interesting sets every single week, hopefully posting on every Monday, where we can show off some of the cards that either people are very interested and would really love to buy, and some of the sets that have cards people aren't really interested in, and cards that people may not even know exist. So, without further ado, we are going to start with an oldie but a goodie. This set came out 10 years ago, in 2015, early August 2015, so it's about a month shy of its 10-year anniversary, and that set is XY Ancient Origins. Ancient Origins prominently featured the Mega Pokemon. It also featured cards that have 3/4 of the card art, even though they're not considered ultra rares. And so the ability to pull cards that have very cool and unique artworks was very prominent here. Plus, the hollows at the end of the set, very shiny and very sought after because they feature some of the most popular Pokemon. Those Pokemon being Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, and all of their primal forms. Then at the end of the binder, to make it a master set, we have all of the reverse hollow cards from this set. And what's unique about those, specifically for this set, is that those 3/4 art cards have a very interesting reverse hollow pattern, which makes them look even better. Alright, so jumping in, these are cards 1 through 9. we organize the cards purely by the number in the bottom corner of the card. For anyone who doesn't know, there is a card number right down here that says what position in the set that card is in. So the Spinnerack here is 5 of 98. That doesn't mean there's only 98 cards in the set, though. A lot of sets, especially the recent ones, have cards that extend past the end of the set. So card 98 out of 99, 99 out of 98, for example. Then, of course, each one of these cards, save for the EX type cards, have reverse hollows of them. So we needed to collect this Spinnerack twice. Once for the non-hollow and once for the reverse. So I'm going to pull out a few of these cards, give some fun quips and anecdotes about when we got them or how we got them, and show off some of the wonderful art. We opened this set when it was brand new. We ordered 3 cases for about $80 per box, which means that's $480 a case, and for a little bit under $1,500 invested into this set. For what it's worth now, the entire set of these cards is worth closer to $1,500 to $2,000. So even though buying packs is not the way to go if you're trying to be most money efficient, we ended up ahead because Pokemon is in a giant boom right now. Alright, so the first card I'm going to show off is Mega Sceptile EX, sometimes called Mega Sceptile EX. I don't know what the actual pronunciation is, despite being in the hobby for 26 years. So why I'm showing this off, aside from it having wonderful artwork, is that the Mega Pokemon, as you can see by the M up here, this was a gimmick in one of the Pokemon games to give an additional evolved form to Pokemon that had already finished their evolution line. So you could play this card on top of Sceptile, and you'd get an even cooler form of that Pokemon. So of course, a lot of people love this because they get to see their fan favorite Pokemon with some new forms. Alright, so moving on. Second page here, this is where we can see some of the 3/4 arts. I've done my best to minimize glare here, but filming cards through multiple layers of glossy plastic is not easy. So let me pull out this Entei. This is an example of what I was talking about with the 3/4 art. So normally, with the example of this Vaporeon, you can see that the art takes up about half the card. So this could technically be called a half art, although it usually isn't, because that is reserved for EXs like this. And this guy, as you can see, takes up about half the card box. Half the card itself is for the Pokemon, so these are called half arts, colloquially. However, these guys are not EX cards, so they're not ultra rares. They're not worth it nearly as much, but their picture actually takes up closer to 3/4 of the card. So I personally think these cards look incredible. I love the artwork on these, and there's quite a lot of these that would make a fantastic phone case or credit card design, if you were so inclined. Not all of the 3/4 art cards are holofoils, though. For example, if we go up here to Vespiquen, Vespiquen is a 3/4 art card, but not a holo. Alright, so every single one of these cards was pulled directly by us from pack into sleeves 10 years ago. So we have quite a few fond memories of these. And for example, these evolutions are some of my girlfriend's favorite Pokemon cards. She enjoys Eevee and the entire evolution line. I'm more of a Charizard guy myself, though. Moving on, we have another example of Megas. Mega Ampharos. Not quite as popular as a lot of the other Megas, but I still quite like it. Its hair goes all the way down to its tail, which is quite a unique choice. Next up, Mega Tyranitar down here. Mega Tyranitar is a good time to tell you about this text. On these Mega cards, in the English version, they put Japanese text, usually just depicting the name of one of its attacks. Not necessarily the attack on the card, but often it is. However, in the Japanese version of this card, the text is in English, which makes it very, very unique, and Japanese people seem to really appreciate the English text on their cards. So even though I see English on these cards every single day, and it's not nearly as fascinating as this Japanese text is to me, to them, it's the flip. Alright. Moving on. This Metagross, I actually thought this was a holo for a very long time because I only had the reverse holo, and at the time I wasn't sure it was reverse. So I thought this card was reverse for a long time, and it's actually just a non-holo. Meowth and Persian are also two of my girlfriend's favorite cards. This page, at the end of every set, is the trainers. These trainers are mainly used for actually playing the Pokemon TCG, and usually will have effects that help you search your deck for cards, add cards from your hand to the field or cards from the discard, and usually accelerate the game in some way. So most decks carry a majority of trainer cards, and then Pokemon and energies are kind of an afterthought. But what I really like about this page is that this next flip is the most exciting one in the entire binder. At the end of every set, or at the end of the numbers of every single set, is all of the full arts, secret rares, and other awesome looking cards. And so that means that for all of the binders we have, there are a good 2 to 3 pages in the middle of them which just look absolutely gorgeous. I'd like to bring your attention to some of these megas that I pulled out earlier. We saw the half art Mega Ampharos before, but now we get to see its entire body. Very interesting. What I also like about cards from these sets is how textured they are. You can see when I get the light in the correct place, the texture is quite deep and quite detailed. Modern full art cards, meaning ones that have come out in the last maybe 6 or 7 years, have been a lot more muted in texture. So these 3 gold bordered cards here are what is called the chase cards of this set. And these cards are worth quite a lot more than these other ones. Because the ability to pull one of these, usually you would get 1 in every 6 boxes. So maybe 2 if you're lucky, really depends. And of course, based per era of Pokemon, they adjust the rarities a little bit. But each one of these, on average, is maybe 1 in every 4.5 boxes. So this Rayquaza here is almost $500 itself. So without me talking too much, let's take a look at some of these cards. All of these cards were pulled by us. So we did not have to go to any events. We didn't have to purchase any of these. We didn't trade for them. These are all ours. Not the most financially responsible thing to do, especially when you are out of college and still barely paying rent, but we did it anyway, and I do not regret it. Lugia is a very, very popular Pokemon. And so Lugia actually gets a lot of extra attention, even when it is not necessarily the star of the show. So I will pull Lugia out in just a moment. We pulled 2 of these Kyogres, and we ended up trading one to someone at HypeCon a couple of months ago. They are very into Megas, very into Primals, and they were very interested in grading some of our copies. Since they were packed fresh, they're probably not going to see a lot of copies that clean for quite a while. Next up, Lugia. Lugia is a fan favorite Pokemon, partially because it was featured in the second Pokemon movie, but also because it is the god of the sea, as far as I know at least. Even though it's a normal type and not a water type, it actually spends most of its time sleeping in the bottom of the ocean, and it is generally called the guardian of the seas. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Alright, Mega Tyranitar here. Again, the Megas are very popular for their new forms given to very popular Pokemon, and Tyranitar was already a very popular Pokemon. So now this card is a mix of both. Very popular Pokemon, very popular gimmick in Mega Evolution, and the artwork is wonderful. So people really, really like to collect this type of card. So I'm not going to pull every single one of these out of the binder, but they look quite striking. Energy retrieval down here, and a card on the back of this page are secret rare trainer cards. And in this era, in X and Y, as you can see, there is a textured Pokeball down here, and a very golden border to indicate that this is a secret rare card. 99 out of 98 is the number for this card. So at the time of this set being released, I actually played the Pokemon trading card game. And cards like this Trainer's Mail were extremely popular in decks. Most decks would run 3 or 4 of these, which is the maximum number you can run in a deck, and therefore this card was obscenely valuable at the time, and some would pay upwards of $10 for it. Quite crazy. Sometimes it would go more, sometimes 20, 30, 40, depending on if a deck that was using this was extremely prominent at the time, but very expensive card at the time. Of course, now it has not been reprinted in 10 years, and so it is no longer playable, you can't put it in decks, and so its value way down. Alright, so now we're on to the reverses. The reverses are very similar to the main cards from the set. So I'll pull out this Oddish here to give an example. But this Oddish and this Oddish, same artwork, same attack, same everything, except this one has a hollow foil reverse pattern on everything but the picture of the Oddish itself. So that's how they get their name, Reverse Hollows. Most people, since you get at least one of these in every single pack, most people completely ignore these cards, chuck them in a box somewhere, forget about them, and don't really care. The only exception is if the Pokemon is a really popular one, or if they want to play with this card in their deck, and there's no shinier version of the Oddish available, or any other reverse card for that matter. So, cards like this are generally considered bulk, and people don't take good care of them. So what that means now is that we're 10 years after this set has been released, and most people didn't keep good quality copies of these around. So, finding them in good condition is actually quite difficult. So here's another example of the 3/4 Arts card. This card was a non-hollow from the main set, but now it has a hollow pattern everywhere but the main art itself. I think that these reverses are actually some of the coolest reverses in the entire game, because the way that the card art bleeds into the actual background of the card, I think, is quite visually appealing. Even though a Pokemon like this one is not very popular, I still think the art is great. So, let's slowly flip through and take a look at all of the reverses. This Entei is the same one as I showed you earlier, except now the hollow is in the opposite part of the card. The Omega form, which was a gimmick for specifically Ancient Origins, is not only featured on fully evolved Pokemon, like either Entei, who doesn't evolve at all, or Gyarados, who is the final evolution in his line. Sometimes the Omega form is present on a basic Pokemon, like Baltoy, and he evolves into a Pokemon that does not have an Omega form. When I say Omega, I mean this up here, which is just an extra ability that made playing with this card at the time a little bit more interesting than having a single energy cost attack. This is the card I was mentioning earlier. I thought this card was always hollow, because when you pull this out of a pack, it looks like this is the hollow card, just because the art is that good. Usually reverses are very obvious, and most people aren't a huge fan. Alright, so now we're at the end of the set. We have all the reverses of every card that can have a reverse. We have all of the full arts and secret rares that you can see on this page, and all of them were pulled directly by us when the set was new. So that makes this binder quite special for us. I'm curious in the comments, I have a few questions for you guys. Number 1, is recording my voice directly into the phone microphone good enough, or should I be getting an external mic? My second question, significantly more interesting, is which card from this set is your favorite? Which one do you like the looks of the most? Is it one of these extremely fancy textured cards at the end of the set? Is it some of the half art Mega Pokemon? Or some of the 3/4 art cards like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Coming up next week for Master Set Monday, a series that we'd love to keep up with, we're going to have another great Master Set for you that's not from the XY era of Pokemon. It is from a different time period. Is it going to be vintage from 25 years ago? Or is it going to be modern from 2 years ago? Who knows? So until next time, thanks for watching.